our channel. Before we get started, click that like button, turn on notifications, give all views thumbs up.
Okay, let's see. Mmm. Mmm. Coffee. Oh, it feels so good. Let me just, a couple more. I really never know if you want to hear before or after what I'm, like thinking. I had done a video that you never saw because the GoPro stopped working. It was on, and I don't even know if you're going to see this one. It was on how many brothers and sisters I knew that as couples got vasectomies because they didn't want to have kids in the system of things. One sister told me it was because she didn't really want to have her mother involved in her life. It would complicate things if she had children. It's sad because they're a really beautiful couple and I miss them. The quality of narcissism in our organization, and I still say our because I'm fairly new coming out, and I can't believe how sad it is when someone's thought process is so constrained in the way it's viewing life that you don't even recognize the dangers of procreation, of non-procreation, the importance of leaving something behind so that it's a part of humanity, that it can spring new life somewhere. Excuse me. That our something that we left behind can spring new life. It's just really sad when people have a dominant thought that can just take over and allow for them to make some strange decisions in their lives that they probably wouldn't have made if they weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Congratulations, Layla May. You're coming with two little babies. Congratulations. I'm glad you're having babies. I'm glad to see young people having babies. It's probably one of the most wonderful gifts you can have as a woman. To be able to have a child is just amazing. I had two babies. I had a midwife for all three of my babies. I had one baby that didn't make it. And so, yeah, all three of my babies had midwives. And it was neat. I tried to have my children all at home. I was a 70s baby, and so my mother was really concerned that I would, 70s, people that had their kids during that time still were taking, they would take a drug that would help them to not even remember that they had their children. It would help ease the pain. And so, yeah, my mom took that drug with me, but she didn't take that drug with my brother. And she breastfed my brother, but breastfeed me. And connection is really important, connection with your child. And I do believe connection is very important, and being able to breastfeed your children. I think I stopped breastfeeding my firstborn at 2.5 years. And my third child, I breastfed not as long. I think I went to like 2 years, because by the half-year mark, by the 2.5 year mark, I was toast. So I didn't want to have any. It was hard for me. I needed rest. And these little ones, they are so cute. They just will follow you everywhere for breastfeeding. It's so cute. So enjoy it. They're like little ducklings. They never leave you. And I think it's quite fascinating that breastfeeding has just, over in our country, it is not a big, it's getting better. People are realizing that that's like the best nutrition you could possibly give a child. But a lot of the doctors here will say, oh, you don't make enough milk. And so the women will supplement, and then they get engorged and they're uncomfortable. And fortunately, I had a really cool cousin, and she was really earthy. She's still very earthy, and she helped me a lot when I had questions. And she just encouraged me, believe in the power of your body. It can do a lot more than what you think it can do. And so, yeah, for thousands of years, women have been having babies, and they've survived with breastfeeding, not bottle fed. So, yeah, enjoy Layla May, your little babies, and try, do the best you can. I think in Europe it's a lot easier because they do a lot. I think, I'm not really sure. I know in the Netherlands and in Holland, in different parts of that area, they definitely do a lot more for women to help them to get connected with their children. And then also they encourage breastfeeding, and I think it's really important. I think it's a lost here in America. I remember one time, I'll tell you a little story. It was down in Virginia, and I was going to my very first district convention in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. And there was a little white sister, and she was sitting down on the cold, it was hot. It's hot in Virginia, and it was hot at that district convention. Even though it was air conditioning inside, no, it was still hot. You were still sweaty. And she had her little baby sitting on a pillar. These pillars, Dodger Stadium was a lot like that too. You just sit next to a pillar, and you can feel the coolness from the cement. It's cement, it's hard. And she was just sprawled out, and you could tell she needed to have quiet. She needed to have alone time. She needed to have separation from people, but there's no way you could get that. You could go outside under a tree, but it would be sweltering hot. And she just sat there, and she was breastfeeding her child. And some old white sister came up to her. She must have been like 60 or 70 years old. Real tiny, from far away, she looked like maybe she was a quiet little white grandma. Her hair like kind of put in a little bun with a just kind of plain white t-shirt dress. Walked up to her and told her, "Oh, that's just disgusting." And I thought, oh my goodness, what? And she just proceeded to pour a little, they were both white. And I was kind of amazed. I'd never seen that before. Not in California. If people had their thoughts about breastfeeding, they certainly didn't do that. And she just kept going about how disgusting that was, and she shouldn't be breastfeeding her child at the district convention in the middle of everybody. the sister, mind you, the young sister, probably in her 30s, was just like, it looked like she got hit over the head with a frying pan, because she just couldn't believe that it was happening. I couldn't believe it was happening. And the woman that was telling her this should have been, quietly taken aside by some brother who should have noticed. Because nobody was paying attention, obviously, except the little lady, to the young sister with the baby. And I could see the sister, and I didn't say anything, because I just didn't say anything at that point. I had my baby. I think my child was probably about not even 4 months old. 4 months old. So, and she could have been almost a year and a half, because we went to Richmond twice. So my recollections are kind of fuzzy, but I still was breastfeeding myself. It was just it's just, you could see division in the organization then. And I saw it all along. I saw it a long time, but I just ignored it. Anyway, that's an interesting story. I don't know why I just told you that, but I thought it was interesting. And I feel bad. I felt bad for that sister, the one with the baby. She was tired. Who knew how much work it took her to get there? And she obviously didn't have a husband around her. My husband happened to come with me the first time I had the baby. He went with me to the Richmond, Virginia, for the district convention. He never went to assemblies, but he knew I needed his support. And so he was always very supportive, even though he was a godless man at that point. He was not a believer of God at all. And we've always had that conflict. For years, we've always had that conflict. It wasn't until after I went into another little cult that I realized, oh my, I better really pay attention, because everybody individually has a belief about God. And I never realized that. Like, somebody can believe that Jesus was, well, I always, as a Mexican, always felt like God was white. And I never even thought that maybe possibly God could be black or a woman or anything like that. I never thought that. And, in my reading, it's interesting, because Karen Armstrong, in her little book, explains, really the entity of God was like nothing. There was nothing. You could put whatever you wanted in that and feed your mind into whatever you felt that was. And I was pretty amazing. I didn't know that. I will never go back to religion. I'm grateful for people like Karen Armstrong, women who are open and talk about religion and are smart enough to write books. Amber Scora, they can articulate what they're feeling in a book. And then not only that, actually be critical thinkers and historical, go into history and write about it with authority. Karen Armstrong, I like that. So that's something unique that I'm realizing now as I've left the organization, is that actually women have minds and they can articulate their thoughts. And if you notice, I only go like 5 minutes, because we've only been given 5 minutes. That's all we ever were given, is 5 minutes. Theocratic Ministry School. My training has served me well. I only do 5 minutes. It's interesting to listen to different people. I haven't really listened too much. I don't know what you're listening to. I liked JT and Lady C. I listened to that. That was interesting. And I still do. I listen to Lloyd. And then I read and I see how much I can get in, and I have to put it down and let it soak in there. because it's a lot. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot to pull out. And I feel like, you know, it's still sticky. Everything that I learned for 49 years, all this organizational thought is still all over me, and it has to be like scraped off because it's just still there in my head. So I'm creating new pathways, and it's taking me some time. It's taking time. It's quiet. I can think a little. Sorry for the ramble. Anyway, I had healing, happy thoughts to Layla May and her babies, and nice, good thoughts so you get those babies nice and ripe and ready to come out. Okie dokie. Let's start. I think it's December 9th. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off and start all over again.